Colonel Jessica Brooks, a senior officer in the United States military, walked into Franklin Mart Supermarket in Austin, Texas, on a peaceful weekend afternoon. Dressed in a simple white shirt, blue jeans, and worn-out sneakers, Jessica looked no different from any ordinary woman just leaving a workout. Few would suspect that this woman had once commanded hundreds of soldiers in life-or-death missions in the Middle East. She slowly pushed her cart down each aisle, her calm gaze sweeping over the shelves of vegetables and canned goods. The pleasant silence of the small supermarket made her feel as though she was being healed after a stressful week. But that tranquility was soon shattered. At the end of aisle 5, Jessica noticed a tall man in a police uniform, Officer Tom Smith. He was pulling out his phone, talking while holding a packet of noodles and a soda bottle. In his rush, Tom dropped both items onto the floor. The noodle packet burst open, and the soda can rolled under the shelf, making a loud clattering sound. Jessica stopped in her tracks. She expected Tom to pick them up, the bare minimum gesture of responsibility. But he didn't. Tom glanced at the mess, then casually turned away and continued his phone call, leaving everything behind. A wave of unease rose in Jessica. She was not just a citizen. She was someone who had lived and bled for values like honor, responsibility, and respect. Unable to remain silent, she stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "Sir, you just dropped some items. Maybe you should pick them up so no one slips on them." Tom turned around. His cold gray eyes swept over her as if she were some strange object. He squinted and gave a crooked smirk. "And who do you think you are to lecture me? Do you even know who I am? I'm a police officer, and I don't have time to deal with petty things like that." A silent flash of lightning crossed Jessica's mind, but she didn't respond right away. The surrounding crowd had begun to notice. A young mother holding her child nearby gently pulled her cart back. A teenage boy took out his phone and started recording. Jessica took a deep breath. As a police officer, you should be setting an example for the community. Picking up what you dropped isn't just common courtesy. It shows respect for public spaces and for the people around you. Tom raised an eyebrow, a sharp, cold laugh escaping his lips. "You have no idea what I've done to earn this badge. Don't try to school me. A black woman like you should know her place." Those words cut through Jessica's calm like a knife. But instead of getting angry, she smirked, a subtle, almost imperceptible smile laced with danger. "My place is that of a colonel who once led strategic operations you could never begin to comprehend," she replied, her voice low but carrying across the space. "And if you think that badge gives you the right to belittle others, then today you're going to learn a very different lesson." Murmurs spread through the supermarket. An elderly man nodded in quiet approval. A store employee whispered to call the manager. The air thickened. It felt like one more word could ignite everything. Tom clenched his fist. "I could arrest you for obstructing a law enforcement officer." Jessica took a step toward him. She wasn't tall, nor was she in uniform, but her posture commanded silence across the store. "Try it, and make sure you understand the consequences, because every eye here is watching, and every phone is recording." The tension was palpable. People seemed to hold their breath. Jessica knew that in this moment, she wasn't just defending social decency. She was standing up for justice, fighting back against the abuse of power with her calm, her honor, and her courage. The confrontation quickly drew the full attention of the crowd. Tom grew more aggressive, hurling threats and challenging Jessica. He stepped closer, his right hand hovering near his holster, a provocative and dangerous move. The scene became so intense that a nearby teenager shouted, "Don't touch her! I'm recording this!" Jessica didn't flinch. She slowly pulled her phone from her coat pocket and dialed the emergency number. Her voice was clear and steady. "I'm at Franklin Mart in Austin. A police officer is abusing his authority and threatening civilians. I need immediate assistance." Jessica's composure caught Tom off guard. A few people in the crowd started shouting, "She's right!" and "We saw it! We're witnesses!" Within 5 minutes, the sound of police sirens pierced the air. 2 patrol cars sped up, followed by a black SUV with a special insignia. It was the vehicle of the city's mayor, Harold Grayson. The mayor stepped out, his face unreadable and cold. He walked directly toward the scene, while other officers surrounded Tom Smith. "Who made the call?" the mayor asked loudly. Jessica stepped forward, eyes still locked on Tom. "I did. Colonel Jessica Brooks, and here's the evidence." She gestured to the dozens of people filming with their phones, as well as the supermarket security cameras. The mayor turned to Tom. "Do you have anything to say for yourself?" Tom stammered. "It was just a misunderstanding. Silence," Grayson ordered, then turned to a senior officer. "Disarm him, strip his badge, detain him immediately, launch an internal investigation." Tom was handcuffed in front of dozens of onlookers still recording with their phones. He lowered his head, the arrogance completely drained from his face. The supermarket erupted in applause and words of gratitude for Jessica. The mayor walked over to her, his eyes filled with admiration. "You not only stayed calm, but you're a model citizen and soldier. This city needs more people like you." Jessica didn't flash a victorious smile. She simply nodded quietly and walked out of the store, knowing that justice had been served, but the fight for fairness was far from over. The story quickly spread across media platforms. Videos of the incident were shared millions of times, sparking a wave of discussion on social media. Not long after, several individuals who had previously been mistreated by Tom Smith began to speak up. They provided testimonies, photos, and even videos, helping to expose the abusive and discriminatory behavior that had long been hidden behind his badge and uniform. Though hailed as a hero, Jessica declined sensational interviews. She turned down major talk show invitations and didn't use the spotlight for personal gain. Instead, she chose to act quietly, participating in police reform conferences and contributing her battlefield experience to public ethics training sessions. At a statewide ethics conference in Houston, Jessica appeared as the keynote speaker. In her speech, she did not single out Tom Smith for condemnation. Instead, she focused on the system, a system that had allowed misconduct to thrive, enabled it, and even protected it. She emphasized that the responsibility didn't rest with just one individual, but with an entire apparatus that needed to self-reflect and transform. Her story became a symbol. A large poster bearing the words, "Power lies not in the badge, but in character," was displayed across community centers. Many female soldiers and people of color saw in Jessica a figure of courage, integrity, and unwavering conviction. The Justice Starts Small movement was born from that moment, a national campaign launched by civil society organizations, inspired by Jessica's actions in the supermarket. Though she didn't place herself at the center of the movement, she became its symbolic figure in the hearts of many. Beyond that, Jessica was invited to serve as a special advisor to the Texas State Police Reform Council. She contributed to the development of new training programs for officers, including mandatory courses on social responsibility, nonviolent conflict resolution, and cultural awareness. However, her journey wasn't without hardship. She received threatening emails and anonymous late-night phone calls. Some former officers who had worked with Tom accused her of bringing shame to the force. One night, a brick was thrown through her window, but Jessica never backed down. "When I was on the battlefield, the enemy shot at me with bullets. Here, they shoot at me with suspicious stares and whispered slander. But I don't fight to be liked. I fight to uphold what's right," she once said during a closed meeting with colleagues. 1 year after the incident at Franklin Mart, Jessica was invited to speak at the National Conference on Justice and Human Dignity in Washington, D.C. In a hall filled with over 1,000 attendees, she stood on stage, without notes, without slides, and spoke from the heart. "I once thought the greatest battle of my life was in Fallujah, where I lost 2 soldiers under enemy rocket fire. But it wasn't. The real battle is among those who seem like friends, but refuse justice out of laziness, arrogance, or fear of facing the truth." The entire hall rose to its feet in applause that lasted nearly 5 minutes. Tears, admiration, and an overwhelming sense of strength filled the room. From that small supermarket incident, Jessica Brooks had sparked a wave of change. Several states began reevaluating their police officer recruitment processes. Some police departments incorporated footage of Jessica into their training programs as a prime example of nonviolent conflict resolution. As for Jessica herself, she continued to live simply in her old house on the outskirts of Austin. Every morning, she still jogged around the lake as usual. On weekends, she visited educational centers for underprivileged children, where she spoke about honor, courage, and perseverance. She declined invitations to run for office and turned down medals of honor. "I didn't do it to be celebrated," she said. "I did it because if I didn't stand up, maybe no one would. And justice would continue to be trampled by silence." A journalist once asked her, "If that day Tom Smith had pulled his gun, would you have regretted it?" Jessica replied, "I swore an oath to protect the people at all costs. If I had walked away, I would have betrayed that oath. And to me, honor isn't an abstract idea. It's the air I breathe." And perhaps that is why, even though she never sought to become a symbol, Jessica Brooks became an enduring light in the pursuit of justice in modern society.